Ever heard a wild rumor about your favorite musicians and wondered, could that really be true? Well, wonder no more. From legendary rockers to pop icons, prepare to be amazed as we unravel the mysteries behind the music. All of them decided by you. Let's begin. 30. Gram Parsons went missing. Gram Parsons, the country rock legend whose music continues to inspire generations, had a posthumous journey that's as memorable as his melodies. Back in 1973, at just 26 years old, Parsons tragically passed away from a drug overdose. But here's where the story takes a wild turn. Legend has it that Parsons had a pact with his buddy and manager Phil Kaufman. They agreed that whoever kicked the bucket first would be cremated in the Joshua Tree Desert, a place close to Parsons' heart. But when Parsons met his untimely demise, his family had other plans. They wanted to lay him to rest in New Orleans. Enter Kaufman, the loyal friend determined to honor Parsons' final wish. In a daring move, Kaufman and his pal Michael Martin staged a clandestine operation, hijacking Parsons' coffin and attempting a fiery farewell in the desert. The escapade didn't go unnoticed. Campers spotted the blaze and alerted the authorities, leading to a surreal showdown in the desert. Kaufman and Martin were caught red-handed, facing charges for their audacious act of love and respect. In the end, Parsons found his resting place in New Orleans, but not without a sprinkle of his ashes finding their way back to the desert he cherished. Kaufman, undeterred by the legal fallout, stood by his actions, claiming they were a tribute to his dear friend. 29. John Bonham's death. Of all the bands that have existed, there are probably more rumors about Led Zeppelin than any other. Their exploits are legendary and in many cases are just legends. Not all the insane stories about the group are true, sadly. But even more sadly, the almost unbelievable one about their drummer's last day is factual. Ever heard of John Bonham from Led Zeppelin? This legendary drummer wasn't just known for his incredible beats, but also for his wild lifestyle. You know that iconic drum rhythm in Kashmir? Yep, that's him. Behind the music, a tragic truth unfolded. During the wild days of classic rock, destruction often paralleled productivity. Take Keith Moon, The Who's drummer, for example. Hotel rooms resembled war zones after their visits. Unfortunately, Bonham's story took a darker turn. Rocking himself to death with excessive drinking, Bonham's demise came tragically early at the age of 32. Choking on his own vomit after consuming 40 shots of vodka in one night, his battle with alcohol wasn't a secret. Even during rehearsals, he downed 4 shots at a time. A genius on the drums, but a tragic tale of folly with the bottle. 28. Kiss. You've probably heard about Kiss, right? They're the rock stars who look like they stepped right out of a comic book. But did you know there's more to their comic connection than meets the eye? Here's the scoop. Back in 1977, Marvel Comics teamed up with Kiss to create their own comic book series. But get this, it's not your average collaboration. Turns out, their comic book-like appearances weren't just for show. In 1977, Marvel Comics seized the chance to collaborate with Kiss and publish their own comic book. But here's the kicker. The ink used in the comic had a special ingredient, the actual blood of Kiss members. Gene Simmons, the demon himself, spilled the beans in Kiss Official magazine, confirming that the blood infusion was indeed true. Rumor has it that the ink used in these comics wasn't just any ink. Nope, it allegedly contained something straight from the veins of the band members themselves. Yep, you guessed it, their own blood. Believe it or not, Simmons confirmed it himself in Kiss Official magazine. He spilled the beans about how they flew to Marvel's printing plant, drew blood, and mixed it into the ink. And get this, the whole thing was certified by none other than a notary public. 27. Bad blood between Little Richard and Jimi Hendrix. This is all about electric frontmen Jimi Hendrix and Little Richard. Can you imagine seeing both on the same stage? Well, it happened. Hendrix's brother revealed they first met Little Richard as teenagers, sitting there in awe. However, when Hendrix joined Richard's backup band, the Upsetters, things took a turn. Hendrix's flashy tricks, like playing with his teeth or behind his head, didn't sit well with Richard. The clash of egos led to Jimmy's abrupt departure from the band. After an unsuccessful stint in the military, Hendrix played backup guitar for big names like the Isley Brothers and Ike and Tina Turner. But trouble brewed when Hendrix, known for his iconic tricks, clashed with Little Richard's desire to be the sole star performer. Despite contributing to only 2 known recordings, Hendrix's flamboyant style clashed with Richard's vision. The legendary guitarist's antics, like playing behind his head, led to clashes and his eventual firing. Richard's brother claims Hendrix's tardiness and flirtatious behavior played a role, but it's safe to say outshining the boss was also a factor. 26. Ozzy Osbourne Dove. Let's talk about Ozzy Osbourne, famously known as the Prince of Darkness. Ozzy's not just a rock star because he's a living legend surrounded by myths and tales. You see, back in 1982, during one of his electrifying shows in Iowa, rumor had it that Ozzy did the unthinkable. He bit off the head of a bat. Crazy, right? At first, many thought it was just a wild story. Some even believed that the bat was a rubber toy. But guess what? It was real. Ozzy mistook it for a prop, adding another eerie chapter to his already mysterious persona. And that's not all. In a bizarre twist of events, Ozzy found himself in a board meeting with CBS Records. What happened next shocked everyone. He bit off the head of a dove. Not one, but 2. Ozzy purposefully bit off the head of a dove. Originally meant for a celebratory release after the meeting, the doves took an unexpected turn. These incidents solidified Ozzy's reputation as the ultimate rock star rebel. 25. Nikki Sixx was once dead. Now let's talk about Motley Crue's heyday in 1987. With millions of CDs sold, sold-out concerts, and a lifestyle pushing the boundaries of acceptable rock star behavior, they were on top of the world. However, the band's wild lifestyle had consequences. In 1984, a tragic car accident involving Vince Neil and Hanoi Rocks Razzle served as a warning sign that went unheeded. Despite this wake-up call, the band's wild ways continued. In 1987, Nikki Sixx himself faced death's door. Nikki Sixx's own brush with death in 1987, overdosing and collapsing, was a wake-up call that, surprisingly, he survived. Despite the paramedics declaring him dead, Sixx miraculously came back to life, continuing his wild ride in the world of rock. 24. Jerry Lee Lewis's secret. Jerry Lee Lewis engaged in a secret affair with his own cousin. She was 13 years old when he married her with her parents' permission. The public was outraged and disgusted, so they avoided him and his music. He lost his record deal and reputation. The marriage sparked much debate and outrage. The incident had a significant influence on Lewis's career, resulting in boycotts and difficulties booking gigs. Despite the controversy, Jerry Lee Lewis remains a seminal figure in the history of rock and roll, noted for his pioneering piano playing and electrifying performances. The incident remains a significant part of his personal history, and it is frequently brought up in talks about his life and career. 23. Iggy Pop's hospital visit. This revelation takes us back to 1974, a year when Iggy Pop faced the darkest chapter of his life. Rock bottom? Check. Struggling career? Check. Uncontrollable drug addiction? Double check. Iggy made a bold move, checking into the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute seeking sanity and sobriety. But here's the kicker. His old buddy Bowie wasn't about to let him go down without a fight. Bowie's wild plan to bring drugs to the hospital to help Iggy had us all on the edge of our seats. Spoiler alert, the hospital staff was having none of it. The plot twist? Bowie's genuine friendship. proving that sometimes true friends are the real lifelines. Now fast forward to the aftermath of this dramatic escapade. As the dust settled, Iggy Pop found himself on a journey to recovery like no other. The UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute became the unlikely stage for his comeback story, and fans couldn't believe the twists and turns that awaited. Well, after that, not only did Iggy Pop conquer his personal demons, but he also unleashed a wave of creativity that would redefine the very essence of rock and roll. Yes, you heard it right. The darkest chapter in Iggy's life became the prologue to a legendary comeback. 22. Steven Tyler adopted a girl so he could date her. Steven Tyler was known for seducing some of the most beautiful women of his time, but one of his most enduring and contentious romances began in an unexpected setting. In 1975, he got legal custody of a 16-year-old admirer who had been turned over to him by her own mother. He did this so she could cross state boundaries with him while he toured the country with his band. After that, Tyler contacted Holcomb's mother and persuaded her to grant him guardianship. Holcomb recalls feeling insecure because she was his ward and didn't expect her mother would give him guardianship. I asked him how he had got her to do it. He said, "I told her I needed them for you to enroll in school." Holcomb was Tyler's property. He was her only hope at the time, she added, and she got lost in a rock and roll culture. After a few months of living together, Tyler indicated a desire to start a family. Holcomb was on birth control pills at the time since she was still underage. 21. Prince went door to door. You might think Prince only graced stages with his presence, but did you know he once knocked on doors as a Jehovah's Witness? Yep, back in 2001, Prince embraced the Jehovah's Witness faith, surprising many with his door-to-door evangelism efforts. According to Entertainment Weekly, Prince, along with another musician, knocked on a Minnesota woman's door, introducing himself as Prince Nelson. Can you imagine opening your door to find Prince standing there? Going by Prince Nelson, they chatted about Jehovah, read the Bible, and left a pamphlet when the homeowner wasn't interested. Apparently, Prince was very kind, but the whole encounter left the woman feeling bizarre. Despite his fame, Prince remained humble, sharing his faith with others. Some even said he would disguise himself during these visits, and surprisingly, no one ever called him out on it. Unfortunately for him, not everyone was thrilled about his visits. One reporter found the encounter a little uncomfortable, but Prince remained committed to his beliefs, fulfilling his religious obligations regardless of his fame. 20. Elvis's catfish incident. So, the catfish incident isn't just a wild tale, it's totally true. According to the revealing book, What the Great Ate, Elvis had a strong aversion to seafood, despising its pungent smell. He even forbade his wife from indulging in fish when they were together. Fast forward to July 20, 1975 in Virginia. Elvis, in the throes of drug-related issues, was in a volatile state during a concert. He complained about the audience's breath and even sniffed out green peppers and onions in the air. But here's where it gets wild. Elvis, in a fit of rage, accused his backup singers of chowing down on catfish. No one knew exactly why he fixated on this, but tensions soared. The singers, feeling the sting of his insults, left the stage. This incident marked a dark chapter in Elvis's career, with reviewers noting palpable tension among fans. Many speculated racial undertones in his outburst, but Elvis brushed it off as funny. 19. Van Halen in brown M&Ms. Ever heard about Van Halen's bizarre demand for no brown M&Ms backstage? Many thought it was just another crazy rock star whim. But hold on, because there's more to the story than meets the eye. In a 2012 interview, David Lee Roth spilled the beans, revealing that the brown M&M band served a practical purpose. It was a sneaky way for the band to ensure that the gig organizers paid attention to their detailed checklist. If those brown M&Ms made an appearance, it meant the organizers missed crucial technical requirements, and Van Halen wasn't having any of that. In Roth's own words, "If I came backstage having been one of the architects of this lighting and staging design, and I saw brown M&Ms on the catering table, then I guarantee the promoter had not read the contract rider and we would have to do a serious line check." 18. Ace Frehley thought the worst. You won't believe the lengths Ace Frehley went to for a drink. We all know him as an incredible guitarist, but did you know about his wild journey with alcohol? That's right. Ace didn't just rock the stage, he rocked the bottle too. Back in 2017, Ace spilled the beans to Stuff magazine about his wild ride with the band. He confessed to battling alcoholism and the crazy escapades that followed. Back then, Ace and his bandmates were stranded in a limo with no booze in sight. Desperate times called for desperate measures, right? So what does Ace do? He finds a bottle of perfume and chugs it down like it's a refreshing cocktail. Just like that, Ace turned a fragrance into a shot of liquid courage. The story doesn't end there. While his breath may have smelled of roses, the repercussions were far from fragrant. Ace's stomach endured the agony of his impulsive decision. The lengths he went to for a buzz. It's the stuff of rock and roll legend. 17. The Beach Boys bought and recorded a Charles Manson song. In the late 60s and early 70s, Charles Manson, known for his failed music career and obsession with the Beatles, caused quite a stir in the rock scene. The Beach Boys added to the controversy when they recorded one of Manson's songs, raising eyebrows everywhere. The story goes back to 1968, when Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson brought home a couple of girls who turned out to be part of Manson's group. Manson himself showed up the next day, trying to woo Wilson into the music scene by introducing him to women from the family. Manson sold Wilson a song called "Cease to Exist," hoping to break into the music industry through Wilson's connections. However, Wilson altered the song against Manson's wishes and released it as "Never Learn Not to Love" on the Beach Boys album 2020 in 1969 without giving Manson credit. Manson was reportedly furious and threatened Wilson, but the musician stood his ground and didn't back down. This clash between Manson and Wilson added fuel to the rumors surrounding Manson's involvement in the music world and his contentious relationship with prominent musicians. 16. Aerosmith's "Dude Looks Like a Lady" is about Vince Neil. You've probably chuckled at it, but did you know it's about Motley Crue's Vince Neil? According to songwriter Desmond Child, Aerosmith's Toxic Twins were on a wild night out when Steven Tyler mistook Vince Neil for a glamorous blonde. Yes, you heard it right. Vince Neil, not a lady. Nikki Sixx confirmed this hilarious mix-up in his autobiography, revealing that both bands shared a laugh and a beer that night. Steven Tyler narrowly avoided a memorable bedtime story with Vince Neil. 15. Billy Idol's Wild Night. Rumor has it that during his wild escapades in 1989, Billy's antics reached a whole new level of insanity. Can you believe it? The Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Bangkok turned into his personal playground for 3 weeks straight. He was determined to keep the party going without any consequences in mind. That's when things took a dramatic turn. The hotel had to bring in the big guns, literally. They called in the Thai military to deal with the rebel rocker. But did Billy go quietly? Not a chance. He put up a fight like a true rock and roll warrior. The Thai military had to intervene to handle the wild child himself. Billy Idol shot with tranquilizer darts and carried out of the hotel by soldiers. Now that's what we call a rebel till the end. 14. Van Morrison's talent. Ever wondered how far musicians can go to break free from the shackles of their contracts? So it's 1967 and the legendary Van Morrison is on a mission. Frustrated with his record label's grip over his creative freedom, he hatches a daring plan. You see, Van wanted out of his deal with Bang Records so badly that he decided to play a little trick. Now, Van's no ordinary artist. In just one day, he waltzed into a New York studio and did the unthinkable. He recorded not one, not two, but a whopping 30 songs. Yes, you heard that right. 30 tracks of pure musical rebellion. But here's the kicker. These weren't just any songs. Van deliberately churned out what he thought were awful, absurd tunes, hoping to make his label cringe and let him go. Yet fate had other plans. The label not only accepted the tracks, but slapped them together into an album entitled The Contractual Obligation Session. Can you believe it? Van's plan backfired spectacularly. Instead of freedom, he found himself locked in a legal battle, barred from recording elsewhere for 3 long years. Talk about a musical roller coaster. 13. The Tale of Izzy Stradlin. Now let's talk about Izzy Stradlin, the rebel of Guns N' Roses. This guy marched to the beat of his own drum, no doubt about it. Let's imagine it's 1989 and Izzy's cruising from Indianapolis to Los Angeles. But when nature calls, he doesn't wait for anyone or anything. Yep, you heard it right. When Izzy felt the urge to go, he didn't care about rules or decorum. With the restroom occupied, he decided to make the plane his personal bathroom. Can you believe it? Right there in the middle of the flight, he unzipped and let it flow, shocking passengers and crew alike. Well, you can imagine what happened next. When the wheels hit the tarmac, Izzy found himself in some hot water. He was slapped with charges of public disturbance faster than you can say, "Welcome to the jungle." The judge wasn't amused, oh no. Izzy got a year of probation and a homework assignment, writing an apology letter to the crew. Talk about living life on the edge. 12. Tony Iommi thought this was funny. Tony of Black Sabbath wasn't just a guitar hero, he was also a bit of a prankster. But sometimes those pranks can take a dangerous turn. Take, for example, Tony's antics with his drummer Bill Ward. Tony loved to play with fire, quite literally. He'd set Bill Ward's clothes alight with alcohol, thinking it was all in good fun. However, one day, things took a serious turn. They were meeting with a producer when Tony decided to pull his fire stunt once again. But this time it went horribly wrong. Bill's clothes caught fire and he was in agony. While Bill screamed in pain, Tony initially laughed, thinking it was part of the joke. But it wasn't a joke at all. As the flames spread, Tony realized the gravity of the situation. He tried desperately to put out the fire, but the damage was done. Bill was terrified and Tony was filled with regret. It was a prank gone too far, and the consequences were dire. 11. Lemmy Kilmister swapped girlfriends with his son. Lemmy is the iconic frontman of Motorhead. Known for his wild, fast-paced lifestyle, Lemmy was the epitome of a rock and roll legend. But amidst all the chaos, there's a side to him that often goes unnoticed. His role as a parent. You see, Lemmy's reputation as a wild child didn't exactly scream responsible parent. However, that doesn't mean he didn't care about his children. In fact, whenever he spoke about them, there was a hint of genuine affection in his words. Take, for instance, this snippet from an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times. Lemmy opens up about the infamous rumors of girlfriend swapping, and amidst the chaos, there's a glimpse of the man behind the legend. 10. Stevie Nicks turned down Purple Rain. Did you know about the iconic friendship between Stevie Nicks and Prince? These two legends weren't just pals, they were huge fans of each other's work. Prince even lent his magic touch to Stevie's track Stand Back with his incredible guitar skills. But here's where things get really intriguing. Prince, being the musical genius he was, sent Stevie a 10-minute track of what would later become his smash hit, Purple Rain. He wanted her to join him in creating something truly legendary. Now, imagine the pressure Stevie must have felt. Here's Prince asking her to contribute to what would become one of the most iconic songs in music history. But despite her love for the song, Stevie couldn't shake off the feeling of unworthiness and the weight of the expectations. In a heartfelt conversation, Stevie told Prince, "I can't do it. I wish I could. It's too much." And just like that, she missed her chance to be part of music history alongside Prince. 9. Christine McVie's song about her dog. Christine McVie found herself entangled in a secret affair with none other than Dennis Wilson, the drummer of the Beach Boys. Can you believe it? But here's the twist. Christine penned one of Fleetwood Mac's iconic hits, You Make Loving Fun, during the peak of this clandestine romance. Picture the dilemma. How could she reveal the song's true inspiration to her husband, John McVie, who also happened to be in the band? Her solution? A stroke of brilliance, or perhaps deception, depending on how you see it. Christine spun a yarn, telling John that the song was an ode to their beloved black Labrador, Scooter. She painted Scooter as the muse behind the catchy tune, the one who made loving fun. And guess what? John bought it, hook, line, and sinker. He even performed the song with Christine on stage, blissfully unaware of the real story brewing beneath the surface. It wasn't until years later, post-divorce, that he uncovered the truth. Talk about a revelation. Despite the shock and anger, John couldn't deny the song's brilliance. He quipped, "I'd rather she wrote a song about my dog than someone else." 8. David Bowie's eyes. Many believe Bowie had heterochromia, a rare condition seen in celebrities like Kate Bosworth and Mila Kunis, where each eye boasts a different color. But the truth was far more fascinating. Bowie's eyes appear different due to an optical illusion caused by anisocoria, a condition where one pupil is permanently larger than the other. The story behind Bowie's unique gaze adds another layer to his mystique. At 15, a scuffle with his friend George Underwood over a love interest led to a life-changing event. Underwood's punch left Bowie with a scratched cornea and a permanently dilated left pupil, creating the illusion of mismatched eyes. Surprisingly, Bowie never viewed his injury as a setback. Instead, he embraced it, thanking Underwood for adding to his aura of mystique. Bowie's eyes became more than just a physical feature and became integral to his art and legacy, enhancing his charisma and intrigue. 7. The coincidence. The story begins with Mama Cass, who tragically passed away from heart failure on July 29, 1974, after a successful performance run in London. Just 4 years later, on September 7, 1978, Keith Moon met a similarly unfortunate end, succumbing to accidental poisoning from pills intended to aid his battle with alcoholism. What makes their deaths even more astonishing is the fact that they occurred in the same bed, in the same room, in the same flat. Coincidence? Fate? The lines blur as we delve deeper into this perplexing tale. 6. The best songwriter ever. While the rest of us need our beauty sleep, Keith Richards claims he can function just fine on a mere 2 to 3 hours of shut-eye, sometimes even none at all. How is this possible, you might wonder? Well, Keith swears by his unique lifestyle, insisting that he draws energy from the magic of music and lives purely in the moment. But the big question remains: how does he keep up his rock and roll lifestyle without crashing and burning from sleep deprivation? Some speculate it's the result of his notorious history with drinking and cigarettes. Keith's past is marked by wild experimentation with substances that nearly cost him his life multiple times. Yet despite his tumultuous journey, he claims to have cleaned up his act, embracing sobriety and good health. But let's not forget, Keith Richards is a living legend. 5. Frank Sinatra's connections. Did you know that amidst all the denial, there was one connection Frank Sinatra couldn't shake off? That's right. Old Blue Eyes and the Mafia, a rumor that dogged him throughout his career. Sinatra vehemently denied any links except for one intriguing exception, the legendary comedian Don Rickles. Rickles, known for his razor-sharp wit, met Sinatra during a show in Florida. He poked fun at Sinatra's notorious temper, and surprisingly, Sinatra took it all in stride. But the plot thickens after Sinatra's passing when the FBI opened their files, revealing decades of surveillance on the crooner. While the documents didn't confirm direct ties to the mob, they shed light on why Sinatra was under such scrutiny. It all began with a letter in Washington expressing concerns about Sinatra's music influencing youth. The fear? that mass hysteria could pave the way for unsavory influences, even another Hitler. J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI director at the time, initiated a file that tracked Sinatra's every move for over 40 years. 4. The Beatles' audience. In their 1964 U.S. tour, the Beatles faced a shocking reality in Jacksonville, Florida. The venue wanted to segregate the audience. Black folks on one side, white folks on the other. But the Fab Four weren't having any of it. John Lennon, never one to mince words, declared, "We never play to segregated audiences, and we aren't going to start now." And they didn't. After their stand, the crowd was free to mix, and the show went on. This incident led the Beatles to insist on inclusion in all their future contracts. Fast forward to 1965, and their contract for the Cow Palace explicitly stated their stance against segregation, as reported by the BBC. But the impact didn't stop there. Paul McCartney revealed how the civil rights movement inspired one of their most iconic tunes, Blackbird. With his acoustic guitar, he penned a message of hope amidst the tumultuous times in America. 3. Elvis Presley's type. In her memoir, Elvis and Me, Priscilla Presley stated that she had just turned 14 when she met Elvis Presley, who was 24 years old and already a worldwide phenomenon at that time. Despite their age difference and the fact that Priscilla was only in her teens, they began an intense courtship that lasted 7 years before they married in 1967. That information is unusual enough on its own, but it becomes much stranger when combined with a story from Elvis's ex-living girlfriend Linda Thompson's memoir, A Little Thing Called Life, From Elvis's Graceland to Bruce Jenner's Caitlyn and Songs in Between, released in 2016. Thompson, who dated Elvis after his marriage to Priscilla ended, was also a virgin. And if 2 cases are coincidences, how many form a pattern? According to Broadly's clearly biased analysis of various Elvis biographers that investigated the hound dog singer's claimed fondness for very young females, the answer appears to be that there are plenty. 2. Little Richard versus Jimi Hendrix. While Hendrix's guitar skills were undeniable, his time with the Upsetters, Little Richard's band, wasn't all smooth sailing. Hendrix's mesmerizing stage presence, a hallmark of his later performances, began to take shape under Little Richard's influence. But tensions flared as Hendrix's flamboyant style clashed with the bandleader's vision. Little Richard, asserting his rock and roll royalty, demanded the spotlight for himself. Despite attempts to rein in Hendrix's stage persona, conflicts persisted. Little Richard's brother, Robert Pennyman, spilled the beans, revealing Hendrix's tardiness and flirtatious antics. The last encounter between these icons reportedly occurred in London in '66. Hendrix, in need, sought $50 he believed he was owed from his Upsetters days. Little Richard's response? "Man, you missed the bus." 1. What happened to Tupac? Tupac Shakur tragically died from gunshot wounds sustained in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada on September 13, 1996. He was shot multiple times and succumbed to his injuries 6 days later. The circumstances surrounding his death have sparked various theories and speculations over the years, but the case remains officially unsolved. Members of his group Outlaws recently spilled the beans on how they paid tribute to the rap legend. Apparently, after his tragic demise in '96, they took his ashes and did what? Rolled them up into a joint. His biological father shared heartfelt words, revealing Tupac's true essence, a man who cared deeply for others. His legacy lives on, touching hearts even today. It continues to resonate, stirring emotions and inspiring countless souls across the globe. His music, his message, and his spirit remain eternally alive within the hearts of his devoted fans. And that wraps up for the top 30 rumors about musicians that were totally true. Which rumors surprised you the most? Which musician's secret had you on the edge of your seat? We want to hear it all, so comment about them down below. Thank you so much for watching.